to become president of the United States, you are probably going to have to make some serious sacrifices. To become mayor of New York, I don't think you have to make anywhere near that many sacrifices. Having said that, I do think Mamdani does need to reach out to the rich and find some support with them. You can't, in a city like New York, you can't ignore the money. It's not going to work. He's going to have to make some compromises. It doesn't matter if he's a socialist or not, especially because we live in a capitalist society. And the United States is hyper-capitalist. It's probably the most capitalistic place on the planet. So, a socialist just got elected mayor of the largest city in the most capitalist state on the planet, and it's the hub of capitalism. It's where Wall Street is.
Obama started off very much someone from Chicago, connected with people. He was seen as a successful president, but I think many of his critics would be, he kind of became the establishment in terms of foreign policy. Didn't really do anything that was different from other US policies. It's specifically regarding all the drone strikes in Yemen and Pakistan. Those were things he became under criticism for. He did create a wedge between him and Netanyahu, but I think that's an inevitability of every US president creates a wedge with Netanyahu because of Netanyahu, but they don't actually do anything after the wedge is created to kind of change policy on Israel. He record detentions at the time, or at least deportations at the time as well. So again, he was seen as an establishment person. AOC, lots of promise, and obviously she's still young and has a long career ahead of her, but there was a lot of disappointment when it took a long time for her, for example, to become really outspoken on what Israel were doing when Israel was really behaving much worse than they are behaving now, if that's possible, sort of a year ago. Mamdani has doubled down, in fairness to him, whenever there's been an opportunity. Mostly he's doubled down. He's embraced his Muslim identity. He's been outspoken on Israel. He's kept his economic agenda and local issues at the fore. But as his political career goes, it's going to become increasingly tough to fight the elites and the billionaires, and they will try to co-opt him. And sometimes that's a good thing, by the way. It's not always bad. It usually is bad, but it's not necessarily bad that powerful people are trying to co-opt you. But do you think he'd be able to navigate that smartly? And if you were advising him, how would you advise him to navigate that?
I think the biggest thing that scares politicians in the United States is Israel. So, and not just politicians. Anybody with a career that has any kind of profile. So professors, university professors, are horrified, terrorized into not saying anything about Israel. Saying something about Israel in the United States usually means, if it's negative, the end of your career. And Mamdani's already done that. So we're way past the mark. It's why AOC took so long to say anything, is because she was thinking, I've got all these other issues. There's one issue over here on the side that might be a career-ending moment for me. Do I jump in and say something and lose my career, and then my ability to fight for these other issues? That was her calculation. Because you got to remember, in politics, you have a limited amount of power. End of story. You have a limited number of ideas, a limited amount of money, a limited amount of support, a limited amount of voters, right? And every time you apply some of that power to an issue, that's power you've spent. And you've now gotten an opportunity cost, right? There were other things you could have been spending that power on. I think one of the things that people get confused about in the United States is they think that just having the office is the thing that gives you the power. The reality is, you have to have a power base, and then you get into office, and then you use that power base to push for your policies. And so every politician has to calculate, do I make an issue here? Do I spend energy there? Obama got into the White House, and he did get co-opted to a very large degree. One of his nicknames was the deporter in chief. He built more wall on the US-Mexico border than Trump did. His first 4 years in office, his foreign policy just looked like everybody else's foreign policy. When he switched over to John Kerry as Secretary of State, his foreign policy shifted and became a little bit less normal. But you're right. Like, for the most part, he he did get co-opted, and he even talks about it in his book. He even talks about how, as he's running for office, little by little, he's getting more and more co-opted by the rich. To become president of the United States, you are probably going to have to make some serious sacrifices. To become mayor of New York, I don't think you have to make anywhere near that many sacrifices. Having said that, I do think Mamdani does need to reach out to the rich and find some support with them. You can't, in a city like New York, you can't ignore the money. It's not going to work. He's going to have to make some compromises. It doesn't matter if he's a socialist or not, especially because we live in a capitalist society, and the United States is hyper-capitalist. It's probably the most capitalistic place on the planet. So, a socialist just got elected mayor of the largest city in the most capitalist state on the planet, and it's the hub of capitalism. It's where Wall Street is. He's going to have to go in there, make compromises, and make some deals. Having said that, he doesn't have to sell his soul, and he's already taken so many really powerful stances that in a way he's got all that behind him. He can now just focus on policies, which is what I would do if I were him. My advice to him is make some compromises, get some good deals, get past the lethargy of the bureaucracy, and get some policy successes. Show New Yorkers that you're there, that you can make something happen. And it doesn't have to be a giant thing. It just needs to be something that gets you a little bit of attention and profile. And think long term. I mean, not crazy long term, not 40 years out, but think 8 years out. And don't worry about getting reelected. That would be my advice to him. Just jump in there and work hard. Activate New Yorkers, talk to them, keep them engaged. Don't let them go back to sleep, because that's what they're going to want to do.